If you're looking for a quick, simple, and easy way to add a beautiful pop-up form to your website, then you're definitely in the right place. Whether you're wanting to create a simple contact form that pops up when your visitors visit your website so they can fill that out and send you a contact submission, or you're wanting to build something like a lead capture form where you're actually collecting their name and email in exchange for something free like a mini course or an ebook that you're going to send to their email, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do this step by step. Hi, I'm Kyle Johnson from escapingthenorm.com, and in addition to showing you how to build this simple but very versatile pop-up form, I'm also going to be showing you how to set custom rules for how this pop-up should behave, like how many times should a visitor have to visit your website before it pops up, or if you want it to load after, so many seconds of them landing on your page, or if you want to just show it on certain pages, certain posts, etc., as well as when it should no longer show up. You can set all kinds of advanced rules with this, but make sure you stick around till the end because I'm going to be showing you something that no one else is showing you when it comes to these pop-up forms, so stick around for that. In order to follow along in this tutorial, you're going to need Elementor Pro. The pop-up builder and the form builder in general are only available in Elementor Pro, so if you don't already have Elementor Pro, go ahead and click the link in the description and that will bring you to the page where you can purchase it, and it's super cheap. Also, if you're wanting to collect any of this data that your users are putting into these forms, such as email list, and you're wanting to actually build something like an email list, then you'll need an email automation software that integrates with WordPress and Elementor. I'm using GetResponse in this tutorial, and it's one of the ones that I highly recommend, especially if you're doing affiliate marketing or e-commerce, as they won't just shut your account down like a lot of the other ones do. So if you don't yet have GetResponse and you want to get it and you want to test drive it for free for 30 days, go ahead and click the link down in the description below, the GetResponse link, and that will take you to the page where you can sign up. So with that being said, let me go ahead and show you exactly what we're going to be building. Okay, so I'm on an incognito window. This is so that, like the cookies don't get saved, but I'm going to go ahead and visit my website and I will show you this pop-up form in action. So here I am, and it's supposed to be about 2 or 3 seconds after the page loads, the pop-up form is going to pop up. And as you can see, it popped up. Now my internet is a little bit slow, so there's a little bit delay with that photo showing up. But it's a simple pop-up form, and it's got a headline. And you can click this little X if you want to exit out of the form. But I'm going to go ahead and fill it out and show you exactly how I set it up. So I'm going to just put a name in here. So I'm going to just put Donald. And then I'm going to just put an email in here like so, and then I'm going to click give me it. And then the pop-up is going to close like that. So what actually happened on the back end? Well, there's 2 main things that happen on the back end. Let me show you the first thing. So if I come over to my WordPress dashboard and I hover over Elementor and go to submissions, you'll see that a submission has shown up, and this is the email that I entered in the form. So I'm going to click on that, and as you can see, the name and email came through on this side. There's also something else that I did, and that was send it to my email list, this information. So I'm going to come over to my email marketing software, which is GetResponse, and I'm going to click on list. And the list that I sent this information to is test list, and as you can see, there's 1 entry. So if I click on it, you'll see that that email is in there along with some other data. Okay, so now I'm on my WordPress dashboard, and in order to create a pop-up with Elementor, what you're going to want to do is come and hover over templates and then click on pop-ups. And right now I don't have any pop-ups in here. I deleted all of them. So what you're going to want to do is click add new pop-up and leave this selected, type as pop-up, and then just enter a name for the template. I'm going to just put pop-up 1, and then I'm going to click create template. And it'll take a second and it will open the Elementor page builder. And as you can see here, there's a ton of different pop-up form templates that you can choose from. And there's hundreds of them. You can also select a different category, but I'm gonna go ahead and actually build this from scratch. So I'm gonna just click exit. But if you want to use one of these, all you do is you click on it and then click insert, and it'll insert that template, and then you can just edit it like any page on Elementor. But I'm gonna just close this out, and as you can see, I have a blank section that is an absolute positioned section, so it's not in the actual page, as this is a pop-up. So the first thing I want to do is actually add a section and add my headline to this. And so I'm going to click the plus, and then I'm going to just do a single section, and then I'm going to come over here and click all apps, and then I'm going to click and drag heading over into this section and drop it. And then I'm going to click on this and come over here and paste my heading in, and this is the heading that I want. I also want to center align this, and that looks good. And the next thing I want to do is actually add another section, but this is going to be a double section. It's going to be a 50-50 section. So I'm going to hit the plus and then the plus again, and I'm going to select 50-50 section like so. And I'm actually going to click this middle part right here, and I'm going to drag it below where the headline is. And this is going to be where my image and my form go. So it's going to show up just like this. I'm basically going to build this form. So if I come back over here and click the all apps again, I'm going to put my image in there first. So I'm going to click and drag image into this left field right here. And then I'm going to click on this spot right here. And as you can see, I've already uploaded the image. So I'm going to click on this and click insert media. By the way, if you want me to reveal the secret source that I found to make these beautiful 3D book mock-ups, these images that are transparent, go ahead and click that first link in the description, and that's going to bring you to a place where you can actually get that. And there's also going to be another goodie that's going to be in there, so stick around just a little bit longer and I'll reveal it. But anyways, we have this right here, and we can click and drag this middle bar right here to resize the image, but I'm going to just leave it like that right now. I'm going to click the all apps button again, and then I'm going to search for form, and I'm going to click and drag form over into the right hand pane of it. And so this is our form. So let's go ahead and start by editing the form. So we don't want this message because I'm going to be showing you how to create a lead capture form like if you're giving a free ebook away. And so we won't need this message. So I'm going to just click this pencil icon where it's around this form. And then I'm going to come over here and just exit out of that message. So now what we're left with is name and email. Now the only thing that I really want to change with this form is the border radius around these inputs, as well as the button styling. So in order to do that, since I've already selected the form, I'm going to go to style, and then I'm going to scroll down to field, and I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to scroll down to border radius, and I'm going to put it to about 5 so that they're just slightly rounded corners. And then for the button, I'm going to just give it a slight border radius and give it a orange background with black text. So I'm going to come down here to buttons, click on this, and then for the background color, I'm going to just select an orangish color. And then for the text color, I'm going to just click this and drag it to black like that. And then I want to change the typography to make the text a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click typography, the little pencil icon, and I'm going to adjust the size of the text. And then I want to also put an icon. So I'm going to scroll all the way back up, come over to content, scroll down, go to buttons, and then also I'm going to change the name for the submit button. So I'm going to just put something like give it to me. And then I want to add an icon. So I'm going to click this little button right here, icon library, and then I'm going to search for mail, and I'm going to click that, insert that, and then I'm going to change the position from before to after and adjust the icon spacing a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to adjust the border radius for the button. So I'm going to go to style and go down to buttons, and then border radius, I'm going to just click to about 5. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to just adjust the margins and the background color for the form, and we'll be done. Okay, so since this form looks like a little bit up from the book, I'm going to click the pencil icon for the form. And then I'm going to scroll up here, go to advanced, unlink the margin, and then proceed to give it some top margin to where it's about even with that book. Okay, and the other thing is it's a little bit too close to the right side. So I'm going to give it some right margin. And then I'm going to slide this a little bit like that so that it evens out. And then I might decrease the top margin just a little bit. And I think that looks great. So let's go ahead and change the background color now of the form. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to have to change the background color for this section as well as this section. So I'm going to start with this section, click that middle thing, click style, background type classic, and then I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to change it to like a dark blue. And then I'm also going to copy these numbers down here because that's the color code, so I can make the next one the same exact color. So I'm going to click that middle thing, style, and then background classic, and then color, and I'm going to just hit Control V to paste that color in. And then I'm going to class this just to make sure it looks good. That looks good, but the text is a little bit off. It needs to be a white. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to click on the headline, and then I'm going to click style, text color, drag that to white, off click that, and then I'm going to click the form, and I want to change the label colors to white. So I'm going to go to style, I'm going to go to label and text color, drag that to white. Okay, that looks pretty good, but there's only one problem, and that's this little X button is gray. So we want to change that to white. So I'm actually going to use custom code to do that, but we're going to do that here in a little bit. So before I actually publish this, I'm going to check the mobile and tablet version just to make sure it looks good. So I'm going to come over here, click responsive mode, and then I'm going to just check. Okay, that looks good on tablet. And then on mobile, that looks good for the most part, but this is kind of screwed up. So I'm going to click this form button, and I'm going to scroll up, and I'm going to go to advanced, and I'm going to unlink the margin so that it resets it back to default. And that looks good right there. So I'm gonna just click back to desktop mode, and then I'm gonna click publish. And this is gonna bring us to the conditional settings of the pop-up. So this is where you're gonna edit things like, where does your pop-up show up? Under what conditions does it show up? So let's go ahead on this first tab right here under conditions. Let's go ahead and add a condition. Now there's a bunch of different conditions that you can play around with, but for this tutorial, to make it somewhat short instead of really long and drag out, I'm gonna just click entire site, but just know that you can click this and you can select other things like, single pages, etc. But I'm gonna just do entire site, and then I'm gonna click next. And then this is your triggers, so like what actually triggers the pop-up to pop up. So the first one is really popular. This is on page load. So you could turn this on, and you can also set a delay. So like as of right now, like when you visit the page, like any page on the website, since we selected an entire website, once the page loads, this pop-up's going to pop up right now. And so if you wanted to add a delay to it, say 3 seconds, just put 3 in there, and that will delay the pop-up 3 seconds. So I'm gonna just do that for simplicity. But you can also do things like on scroll, so you can turn this on and you can set the direction like up or down, and then how much of the page, in percentage to scroll before the pop-up pops up. But I'm gonna just leave that off. And there's also more advanced things like on scroll to element, on click, etc., or on page exit intent. But I'm gonna just leave it for on page load, delay 3 seconds. So I'm gonna click next, and then advanced rules. So these are the things that like determine like how many times should the visitor be presented with this pop-up before it doesn't show up anymore, etc. So if you wanted to wait to show it until after the visitor, visits so many pages, you can turn this option on and set that, but I'm gonna leave it off. And then you have sessions. But what I want to do is I want to make it to where it only shows up so many times, and then if the user keeps exiting out of it, it stops showing up, so it won't bug them, so they don't just bounce off of our website. So I'm gonna turn this show up X times. I'm gonna turn that on. There's 2 different parameters. There's how many times do you want it to show up. I just want it to show up 2 times, and then the count. So basically this is how Elementor is going to count how many times the pop-up's been presented to the user. So if you have it set to on open, so basically when the pop-up opens, that's going to be counted as 1. You can also set it to on close, so the user will actually have to close out of the pop-up before it's counted. I'm gonna just put it on open, and there's some other settings you can play around with as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and click save and close, and this is gonna automatically update and it's gonna publish. Now you might be confused at this point. I was when I first used this pop-up creator, and you might be like, how do I get back to those settings? Well, stick around just a second. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But first, let's go ahead and set up the actions after submit. So I want to make it to where when someone fills this form out, that it submits that data to the back office where I showed you earlier. And also it sends the name and email to my email list software GetResponse, so that I can send them, later broadcast or automation emails in the future. So what you want to do is just make sure you click form right here, and then come over to content, and then scroll down to where it says actions after submit. And these are all the settings for the things that will occur after the form is submitted. So what we have is collect submission. Great, let's keep that. That's going to send our data to the Elementor back office, and we can view the submission. It's also set to send an email. I don't want that, but however, I do want to add a new one, so I'm going to hit this plus, and I'm going to scroll down to get response, and I'm going to click that. And as you can see, get response showed up right here. It's a new menu item. So in addition to sending the leads to the back office, I also want to send it to my email automation software. So I'm going to click get response. And then as I've discussed in the past, there's some kind of a bug with this. So I'm going to just click custom, and then I'm going to just re-enter my API key. So I'm going to come over here to get response, and I'm going to click menu, and then integrations API, and then API. And I'm going to copy this API again, and I'm going to come over here, paste it. It's going to show me all of my lists. So I'm going to select test list. I'm going to select day 0 for the duty cycle, and then email. I'm going to select email for the field mapping. That's going to send the data from the email input to the email field in the email automation software. I'm also going to select name for the name column in the automation software. I'm going to leave the rest blank. So now when someone fills this form out, this pop-up form, it'll actually send the name and email to my email list, so I can build my list. And there is one more action after submit that I want to put in here, and that's to actually close the pop-up once the form is filled out and not to show it again. So what I want to do is come back to actions after submit plus, and then scroll down to the very bottom and click pop-up, and you'll see this is populated now. So I'm going to click on pop-up, and then action, I'm going to choose close pop-up. after we submit the pop-up or the user, and then I'm going to turn on don't show again so that the user doesn't get shown that pop-up again since they already signed up for it. Okay, and as promised, I'm going to show you how to get back to those conditional settings when you're editing the pop-ups, like if you want to go back and make some changes to these conditional settings with the pop-up. So I'm right here under my templates and pop-ups, and this is the pop-up we've been building. So I'm gonna just open this with Elementor by right-clicking and open link in a new tab. And now I'm back to the editor, and all you do is you come down here and you click this little arrow next to update, and then you click display conditions, and this will pull up the modal where you can set all these different settings again, and you can modify it. And then when you're done, just hit save and close. And also there's a few other things here if you want to access, each one directly. You can go straight to triggers or straight to conditions from this page. But either way, if you open this up, you can access all of them. And that's literally going to be it. Now we are done with this pop-up form. So let's go ahead and view the live version. So I'm going to click update, and then I'm going to open a new incognito window. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to go to any URL on this site. And within 2 seconds of the page loading, the pop-up should pop up. So let's see if it does. There it is. And as you can see, it looks great and it worked great. So let's go ahead, fill it out, and make sure it works correctly. So I'm going to put the first name, and then I'll put an email. Okay, now I'm going to click give it to me, and it's going to send this form. Okay, so let's check the back office, make sure the submission came through there. I'm going to come back to my dashboard, and I'm going to hover over Elementor, click submissions, and there's the new one. So I'm going to click on it. Okay, so I got the name and email. Now let me check my email automation software. So I'm going to click over to get response, click list, and then I'm going to click test list. As you can see, there's 2 entries, and that's the new one that we entered. It put the name and the email in there, so we're good with the email automation software. Okay, so how do we actually change this X to a white color? There's no option to do that in Elementor. So we're going to have to do that with custom code. Let me show you that right quick. So I'm going to come back over here and open up an incognito window, and I'm going to go back to a page on the website and trigger the pop-up to pop up. So pop up within a couple of seconds. Okay, there it is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this X, and I'm going to click inspect. Okay, so you want to resize this where you can see the X. It's kind of hard to see right now. And then click this little arrow icon, and then hover over the X until only that X is, highlighted. And as you can see, it's highlighted right there. So I'm going to click on it. And as you can see, this piece of code is selected. And right to the immediate top of that, it says E icon dash close. So I'm going to double click that and make sure that everything inside of the parentheses, not including the parentheses, just everything inside the parentheses is selected. And then I'm going to hit Control C to copy that. And then I'm going to come back over here to the editor, and I'm going to click the section that belongs to this X. So I'm going to click this little middle thing right here, and then I'm going to click Advanced. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to click Custom CSS. And then I'm going to put a period. So there's the period, since this is a class. And then I'm going to Control V to paste the class name. So that's the class name. And I'm going to hit space, and then opening and closing curly brackets, go in between them, hit enter. And that is our CSS selector. Now, if you're using Elementor, chances are this is going to be the exact same name. So you could just, copy the exact same thing. Now, what you want to do is type color and then semicolon. A semicomma should be followed. But in between those two, you can just hit space and then type white. And as you can see, this showed up as white now. Now, just as an extra precautionary measure in WordPress, I always put the important after it, because sometimes WordPress will override this. So after white, I'm gonna hit space and then exclamation mark, and then just type important, no spaces. And that's literally it to turning this, X to a white color. And so now I'm gonna hit update now that we're complete. And by the way, if you want this template for this exact pop-up so that you don't have to build it from scratch, and you also want my secret source for the 3D book covers that's completely free, it's very, very easy to use, go ahead and click that first link in the description, and that's going to bring you to a page where you can actually download all this information. Now with the template, you're going to have to still go in there and, put your own API key in for get response, as well as your own image. So that's going to do it for today's tutorial. If you got some value from this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, where I walk you through step by step, if you have any suggestions for a future video, make sure you leave those down in the comments. And if you have anything else to say, leave those down in the comments as well. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.